Good morning, good night, good day, good evening, good afternoon, good everything. Welcome to First and Learning, a Corey's Corner football podcast. Listen, I am so excited to bring this to life. I have had this idea for years, but has just been able to put it all together and kind of build it out. So I'm super excited. And this is the first episode, and it's really an introductory episode. I want to just introduce you to the show. I want to have you really be a driving factor. Who is this show for? Okay. First question. This show is for, if you've ever been, I want you to think about this. If you have ever been a Sunday morning, maybe you're in another country, so it may be a different day, but you're on a Sunday morning, it's rolling into afternoon, you're putting something on the grill, your family's around and they are yelling at the TV. That was holding. Oh, look, he's in cover two. Don't throw it that way. Or what, they're just talking so in depth about the game. And you love the vibes. You love the vibes, but you just don't know what the hell they're talking about. This is the show for you. Okay. You have finally landed in a place because we are going to learn football. No shame, no gatekeeping. This is the place for you to do so. From reading every single rule in the rule book, we'll go down that, to talking about strategy, from very basic strategy to maybe advanced strategy. This is it. I know you're used to maybe shows that are kind of based in analysis of a game that happened. There will be a little bit of that in season, but a lot of the show is not about that. It is just about learning football so that when you are watching football, you can really enjoy the sport that I love so much, the sport that you love so much. To me, it's the greatest sport on earth. And sure, other people feel other ways about their sport, and that's great. I want them to feel that way. But to me, football, American football, is the greatest sport of all time. And I want to give you just a brief history about my journey with football so you can understand why I love it so much. I will never position myself as an expert, but I am somebody who knows a lot about the game because I played it. And I got to play it at somewhat of a high level. But anyway, I started my football journey in third grade playing flag football. I'm from Texas, man. And football in Texas is kind of like a second religion. You love God first, and it was like football second. And so I played football in third grade, and I just never stopped. I fell in love with the game, and I loved it more for the mental aspects of the game, not necessarily the physical stuff. I did like, there's nothing better than pancaking somebody, just laying them flat on the ground. That feeling is top tier. Sure, I don't want to get rid of that. But there was also something that was so bliss about out scheming a team or making somebody think one thing and then doing the other, right? And I loved that. And I played offensive line. I mean, every position from center to tight end. I played defensive tackle, but my anchor position was center. So I snapped the ball. I worked with the quarterback. I had to have a high mental capacity for the game. And so I just love the game, and I see the game that way. And when I watch the game with my family, I'm the one who's usually calling stuff out either before it happens or I can see it happen live. And they're so excited. I'm like, wait, that's coming back because I'm sure they called holding. And like, how did you know? I just see the game differently. And I want you to be able to see the game that way. I played from fourth grade all the way up to some years in college, played Division I and Division II football. And I figured out kind of at the right time, I think, of my college career that I just was not going to make it to the NFL. I wasn't, man. I'm 6'1". I was maybe like, at the time, 315. And I was just seeing my friends go to the league, and I was talented. I just was not as talented as them. And they were also blessed with size. And so I think I had the realization that like my dream of making it to the NFL, realistically, it stops here. I don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of breaking my body down to try to go to the league. I just knew that wasn't going to happen. But I never lost my love for the game. I still love it. Ever so often, I wonder, like, man, what would it be like to still play football? There's no way I can play in today's league at all. Hell, I wouldn't be able to play in like a 35 up league or something like that. My body is just not the same. But I love football on every level. I love the NFL. I love the UFL. I love watching high school games. I go support people who that I know, like family and friends who are like in junior high. It's just a beautiful sport. And I want you who are new, whether you are living in the United States or if you are from somewhere else, you're just learning the game, I want you to learn it here. Okay. On First and Learning, you will be a part of this community. Again, there is no shade. There is no gatekeeping. There are no dumb questions, just dumb downs. You see what I did there? That would be one of the segments of the show where you write in and we dumb it down, right? We get back to the basics of that so that you can understand or better understand. So please, when you submit your questions, submit whatever you have. It can be something that you don't even have to say, I feel like this is so stupid. Again, there's no shade here. There is, you should have no insecurity about asking whatever you want to ask here because we're going to go through it. Okay. I don't have all the answers. I will try to get you the right answers. I do have some connections too, and I like to get to those connections to get you the right answers. I will say I know what I'm talking about. On the same token, I am not above reproach. So if I mess something up or you think that there's more I can dive into, so ask that. I would love to continue to go further into that. I don't have an ego like that. I mean, I have an ego, but I don't have it like that. It ain't that big. We are all here to do one thing, and that is learn the game that we all love at such a level that we can analyze it better, we can enjoy it better, we can talk about it better, especially colloquially or with like our friends in public settings and stuff like that. We can ingest other media better, right? So when these player podcasts, which I love these NFL player podcasts, when they're talking about the game, you understand it more. You can dive more into their content because you've learned that information here. Or maybe you have a kid who's just starting out football and you want to learn and be able to help your child out. You learn that right here on First and Learning, a Cori's Corner football podcast. So how's it going to go each week? There may be multiple episodes that drop every single week because here's what we're going to do. Some episodes will just be here, or we're going to go through this rule or these rules, right? Like rule 1 and all these sections. We're going to read them verbatim and talk about exactly what it means. And that will be the episodes. Most episodes will have some segments to it. We'll do dumb downs. That's when you write in and we'll talk about those things. We'll do a football phrase of the week. So a phrase that you may hear maybe on TV or somewhere else, like move the chains. We'll talk about that, right? Like, what does that mean? Where did it come from? What's the history there? We'll have the main teaching segment, which I don't know what to call it yet. Maybe I'll call it the playbook. I don't know, but a segment where we're really talking about like it's teaching what I do on my social media stuff. We'll do an example today of what a teaching thing could be. And then, we'll get up out of there. Maybe we'll do during the season a segment where we'll do flag on the play, where something that happened during the game that week that was maybe peculiar or there was a flag, we'll discuss it, right? Like, why was a flag called then but not called then? Like, what's the nuance here? A lot of that happens with like pass interference. There's a lot of pass interference calls that people don't agree with, but 9 times out of 10, the officials actually get it correct. And we'll talk about those things, right? We'll bring up the film. We'll break that down. That'll be some of the episodes there. But yeah, we're going to spend time learning the game. Now, how you need to connect with this media is like this. Here's how I have it set up for you. If you are listening to this on your run in your car on the way to work, perfect. I will make sure that I will do my best to give you as much information that if you just listen to it from an audio perspective, you may be able to see it in your mind's eye. That's great. You might also have a superpower if you can do that. But also, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell so you know when I go. But also, I'll do some screen sharing. This is one of those shows that you can put on as kind of in the background. Sunday, you throw some meat on the smoker, you're outside doing some stuff. You can have it running on the background on YouTube so you can still hear it and get some visuals of sometimes when you need them. But if there's ever a moment on the YouTube where I need you to cue into the screen, I will cue you into that screen. I might say, hey, if you're watching YouTube but just listening, turn your eyes to the screen now. That's when you'll know that I'll be putting something on the screen. I'll be maybe breaking down a video or something like that. But yeah, it's meant for you to enjoy in your leisure whenever you want to enjoy it. Okay. So there's no like straight through with the rule segments. Maybe you want to go straight through, but maybe you don't. It's all up to you. Whatever you want to learn is what you want to learn, and how you want to learn it is how you want to learn it. Okay. So with that being said, I know that was a little 10-minute intro. I do want to give an example of the rule book, right? So one of my favorite things, like for now, I'm going to share the screen. So if you are a listener, Maybe it doesn't matter to you, but if you're watching, you'll be able to see this. One of the things I love so much is that I get all of my rules from the official rule book. Okay, this is the official rule book. This is on operations.nfl.com. You /rules officiating. They have the rule book on there. You can look this up. This is what I do. I read this through and through every single year. Okay, every single year. So sometimes when y'all be challenging me like that's not the rule, this is not my interpretation. I'm reading it to you how it is. And so we're going to do that too. We will read it. Sometimes the words get a little crazy. And so we'll talk about what it actually means when we read it. But we're going to go through every single, I think it's the best way to learn football is actually going through the rule book, reading the rules in the sections and the articles, talking about what that rule may mean, and then seeing it actually in action, through images or videos and stuff like that. So here's an example. Here's Rule 1, Section 1, which is the dimensions of the football field. We'll go through Article 1 and then we'll go through Article 2. Okay, so Article 1 of Rule 1, Section 1 is called playing lines. Okay, so a lot of information here about lines, but let's get into it. The game shall be played upon a rectangular field, 360 feet in length and 160 feet in width. The lines at the end of each field, or the lines at each end of the field, are termed end lines. Okay. The lines, or those on each side, are termed sidelines. You've probably heard sideline way more than you have heard end lines. Goal lines, it's a different line. Here we go. Shall be established in the field 10 yards from and parallel to each end line. The area bounded by goal lines and sidelines is known as the field of play. So we'll stop there really quick. What does all of this mean? We just gave you a bunch of different lines. Okay, we talked about end lines, we talked about sidelines, we talked about goal lines, and then we talked about the field of play, right? So the field itself, when we said the field, we are talking about all 120 yards of length, and we're talking about the over 50 yards of width. Okay. That is the field, but it's not actually the field of play. Because what is the field of play? The field of play is only 100 yards. So when people ask you that trivia question, how long is a football field? And you say 100 yards, you are incorrect, because a football field is 120 yards because you have two end zones that are 10 yards from the end line, right? If you add it up, that's 20 yards, so 120 yards. But if you say how long is the field of play, that's 100 yards. That would be correct. So it goes inline, goal zone, right? So 10 yards. So then that's a goal line. Then you have the field to play for 100 yards. Then you have another goal zone for 10 yards and then another inline. So that's where you get your 120 from. Okay. The surface of the entire field of play must be a league approved shade of green. Interesting. Can't just be having no kind of, you ain't gonna have no Boise States out here. Boise State college, their university, their field is cool. It's blue. You're not going to have a blue field in the NFL. It has to be a league-approved shade of green. And the areas bounded by goal lines, end lines, and sidelines are known as end zones. You probably already know this, right? I said goal zones. They're end zones. That's where you can score your points. The areas bounded by goal lines and lines parallel to and 70 feet 9 inches inbounds from each sideline are known as the side zones. That's a lot of words. Okay, a lot of words. I'm going to read it one more time. The areas bounded by goal lines and lines parallel to. Okay, so the goal line is this way, and then any line is parallel to. And 70 feet 9 inches inbounds from each sideline are known as side zones. Where is that at, Cori? Where is that at? The side zones are, if you look at the hash marks, okay, that's what we're talking about. So not the hash marks themselves, but the zones from inbounds that are parallel and from the side. So I wonder if I can share my screen and show you a field really quick. Okay, so I'm going to share another screen and actually show you the field that I am actually talking about. Boom. Okay, let's look at this. This is an end zone. Sorry if the picture's the field. So what we talked about earlier, if you see my mouse cursor, is This, I wonder if, oh, it doesn't work on here, but here's your end zone, your two end zones, and you have your 100-yard field of play, right? Now, these are the hash marks that are going down the center of the field, but these are still parallel lines. Like this zone is a side zone. These zones right here are side zones. Anyway, pretty cool to know what the dimensions of the field are and what they look like. So we'll kind of come back to this image. Remember this image right here. Okay, let's go back to the rule book though, because we're still in the rule book. So the end lines and the sidelines are also termed boundary lines. So those are interchangeable terms. So if somebody says something like boundary lines, they could be talking about the end lines and the sidelines. So if I say sidelines and you say boundary lines, we're talking about the same thing. For those who say soccer and football, we're talking about the same thing, right? So let's go to Article 2, which talks about the field. Okay, a little bit more of the field, not necessarily the playing lines. So the field includes the field of play and the end zones. Remember, we talked about that. That's the entire 120 yards. Field of play is 100. The end zones are two 10-yard end zones, so 20 yards. The field will be rimmed by a solid white border and a minimum of 6 feet wide along the end lines and the sidelines. So along the boundary lines, it's a solid white border. That's what it'll be rimmed with a minimum of 6 feet wide along the ends. An additional broken limit line 6 feet further outside of that border is to encompass the field in the non-bench area, and such broken line will be continued at an angle from each 25-yard line and pass behind the bench area. So I'm gonna pause right there, share my screen one more time to show you what this looks like. This to me is an interesting part of the field, because sometimes I don't even know why necessarily it means there. I go film games for the UFL, and I call these the media lines. They're not the media lines, but it's basically what we have to stand behind if we're like filming or taking photos and stuff like that. We have to be behind this line. So the first sentence was talking about, you see this big white barrier, right? That thick, the sidelines, they're very thick when people go out of bounds. You've seen this before on TV. If not, you're looking at it right now on the screen. That's the sideline. That's at minimum 6 feet. So most of them are 6 feet. That doesn't mean you can't have one that's further. It just means it has to be at least 6 feet wide. They're generally, I'm just go keep it a buck with you. I haven't been to many NFL stadiums that they've been longer than 6 feet. Most of them are 6 feet wide. And then here's that white line, that broken white line they're talking about. You see that? There's a broken white line right here. And then at 25 yards, this one seems to be a little bit more like 30. It starts to angle back and go around the bench area. That's the second sentence they were talking about when it comes to the line. So when you're talking about the line and you're thinking about that, that's what we're talking about. All right, let's get back to the rule book real quick. So we were there. Okay, in addition, within each bench area, a yellow line 6 feet behind that solid white border will delineate a special area for coaches behind which all players, except one player charting the game, must remain. So that bench area, that's where everybody has to be at, right? All the coaches and stuff have to be at. You will see this sometime where a coach might get a little bit outside of that, and the officials will be like, "Coach, back up, back up." This was famously kind of coined. I think it was the Rams coach who had what they called a pullback guy. Where his job literally was just to pull the coach back into the box, into the space where he's supposed to be, so that they don't get any type of penalty for not being in there. Because this says that all players and coaches must remain in this area. So anyway, let's keep on going. If a club's solid white border is a minimum of 12 feet wide, remember we talked how most of them are 6 feet, but if the club has a one that's minimum of 12 feet wide, there is no requirement that the broken restraining line has to be added to the non-bench area. So remember there's that bench area that's angled, but they're saying if there's a line that is 12 feet at minimum instead of 6 feet, then you don't have to have that broken white line behind that. Because essentially it's the same line, right? Like that's just a long sideline. That would be crazy to see, but you wouldn't have to do that. However, the appropriate yellow line still must be clearly marked within the bench area. So very interesting. Now, in special circumstances and subject to prior approval from the league office, a club may omit the 6-foot white border during the preseason or later period while football overlaps with another sport and substitute a single 4-inch line that would normally be the outer limit of the solid border. Now, I still haven't seen this. I don't necessarily, here's where that lack of expertise comes in. I don't really understand why that would even need to be something that is not necessarily discussed, but like something that is a special circumstance. Now, we did talk about maybe other players or other teams who are using it as a like a multi-use facility. You know what? Maybe I get it. Maybe it's for like if you go to like another stadium that's maybe in another country or somewhere else that's not normally hosting an NFL game, they might not have a field that is conducive or perfectly conducive for the NFL regulations. That maybe makes sense. The preseason portion of it to me still doesn't make too much sense, but it is what it is. This is what the rule book states. So that'll be kind of how the episode goes for the episodes that are just the rules. That was just a little sample of that. But now you know the lines on the field, how big a field is, how wide the field is, what the markings are and what they are for when it comes to the border and around the bench area and the bench area, right? So you can't leave this episode saying you didn't learn something. All right. And then the next segment we will go to is dumb downs, right? This is where you would write in, send me a question, or maybe I pull one from social media, and we talk about that, right? Like, here's an example. An example might be like somebody writes in and says, why do teams kick the ball away on 4th down when they still have one more chance to get the 1st down? This is a great question. You may think that it's like, no, it's not a dumb question. Again, there are no dumb questions here, just dumb downs. So let's get into it. Why would a team kick the ball away on a 4th down? That's what we would call a punt, right? In order to answer that question, this is how simple we want to get it. In order to answer that question, we have to roll back and ask another question, which is, what is a down? Right? A down is an attempt. Let's break that even further. Let's talk about the game of football. The objective of the game of football is to outscore your opponent. Wow. Outscore your opponent. Is that not like the objective of every single sport? It is. So it's pretty simple. So when you get to a down, you get 4 tries. Your team gets 4 tries on offense to gain 10 yards. If you are able to gain 10 yards, you get another set of downs. And what I mean by a set of downs is this: those 4 tries, those 4 attempts. That's one set. And if you make it past 10 yards within that one set, you get another set. So it may even be that you get your set of downs on the first try. You might have 1st and 10. You have 10 yards in that set. And you run past 10 yards. Wow, you get another 1st and 10. But your set could go like this. You start off 1st and 10, and you attempt to get 10 yards, and then you lose 2 yards. So now it's 2nd and 12. And then you gain 6 yards on that second try. So now it is 3rd and 6. And on the 3rd down try, you get 3 yards. Now it is 4th and 3. So technically you still have one more try to get 3 yards to offer your team another set of 4 downs. But more often than not, teams are going to kick the ball away, or they're going to punt that ball. And so the question then becomes, why, if you have a 4th and 3, why would you kick the ball on a 4th down when you could still go for it on a 3rd down? All that comes to strategy, right? Changing the field and other things. So here's an opportunity to understand the strategy. If you are watching on YouTube and not really listening, go ahead and put your eyes to the screen, because I'm going to show you what the field looks like. And when I show you what the field looks like, I'll show you why people punt that ball. Okay? Okay, so we're looking at the field again. We talked about the field earlier, the dimensions of the field. And so let's say you get the ball on this yard line right here. Let's say the 20. And when people say your 20, it means your team, which means I have the end zone I have an end zone that's really close to my back. That's my side of the field. Any side anything left of this, if the offense is going to the right, anything left of the 50 is going to be my side of the field, and anything right of the 50 is going to be their side of the field. So let's say we're on R20, and we are trying to get to the 30-yard line so that we can get another set of downs. Well, we get to, like I said, the 27. We have 3 yards to go. Now, let's just say, by chance, or statistics, really, we go for it. We take that extra try, and we try to get 3 yards, and we only get 2 yards. Well, guess what? We didn't get our 10 yards with our 4 tries. So then now the ball goes over. We call it turnover. The ball goes over, or we turn the ball over to the other team's offense so that they get their attempts, 4 attempts to get 10 yards. Well, if you do that right here, look how close they are to scoring. Their kicker can probably kick and get 3 points, or they only have 27 yards to get to the end zone to score 6 points. So I don't want to give them that good of a chance to score. So if it's 4th and 3 and it's right here on my 27, I'm going to use my punter's big, strong legs and hopefully punt it so far that I put them in a similar situation as my offense was. Now, instead of them having 27 yards to go to score a touchdown, they might have 80 yards, 90 yards to go to score a touchdown. So again, that might seem very simple to those who watch football very often, but that's all strategy, right? That's all numbers. You don't always punt the ball. There are plenty of times where teams are going to go for it on 4th down, but it's all kind of based on the statistics, and sometimes it's just based on the field. Or not the field, I'm sorry, the field. Sometimes it is not the smartest statistical option to go for it on 4th down, but stats don't play football, people do. And sometimes in that moment, I'm going to take my team's guys, and I believe my team's guys are better than your team's guys, and we're going to get those 3 yards. And we get those 3 yards. Sometimes that we don't, right? So that's what downs are, and that's why you get better field position when you punt the ball more often than not. I am a person who kind of plays football in the more traditional way. I would almost always punt the ball in that situation. I don't want to give no easy chances to the other team. Now, once we get close to that 50 or even beyond that 50, oh yeah, take the stats out the window. I'm going straight off the field. Straight off the field. Do I really believe my players, if I'm coaching, can go get this first down? That's exactly how I'm going. When I get close to that 50 and to that other side of the 50, or do I think my kicker can make that kick? Right, It all comes down to the strategy of playing field position to try to make it harder for the team to score points. So that's why teams, kick the ball away more often than not. Anyway, listen, that is basically a synopsis of how the show is going to be. Okay. We're going to go over rules. We're going to go over plays that happened in the previous week. We're going to go over questions that you submit and suggest. We'll go over strategy as well. So if you're a player looking for I want to know how to beat cover 2 and that, we'll talk about all of those things as well. But what I need you to do is follow the show, okay, on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, again, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you click that bell. Follow the show, please, right? Share it with somebody who wants to learn football. That's what I care about the most, is people who just want to learn football, okay? So share it with somebody who maybe wants to learn football. And then come back to the next episode, okay? We're going to talk about everything. We're going to learn as much football as we can. And I just want you to know that I'm here with you. If you've ever felt like football was a language that everybody else got, but you didn't get, this podcast is your translator. We are going to make it work for you. So send in your questions, especially the ones you think are maybe too basic. You can do that by going to Cori's Corner on IG or anywhere, TikTok, whatever. Send me a DM. Next episode, I actually have a link for you, probably in my bio, for you to just click on and submit your questions. If you're here on YouTube, go ahead and submit them in the comments. Again, like I said, around here, there are no dumb questions, just dumb downs. We'll dumb it down for you, okay? Anywho, thank you so much for being around. Those who have already engaged with my content, thank you. Continue to engage. We'll learn football together, one play at a time, one down at a time, one video at a time. God is love. I love all. Come back to the next video. We can talk some ball. Peace out.